The legal repercussions of Janelle and Mary against Kody Brown. It began with whispers behind closed doors, followed by careful phone calls, private messages sent late at night, and then a meeting at a tiny cafe in Flagstaff that neither Janelle nor Mary had been to in years. There were no cameras or crew there, just two women sitting in a quiet corner table whose past had previously been obscured by Kody Brown's never-ending story of control. They had been silent for years. Mary clung to the prospect of reunion while suffering the emotional malnutrition of being marginalized and publicly humiliated. Ever the pragmatic one, Janelle had invested her money, her time, and her future in a dream named Coyote Pass, only to see Kody divert resources to Robyn and seize the land for himself. Now, though, someone had crossed the boundary, and their silence was over. The first legal courier reached Kody and Robyn's opulent Flagstaff house early in the morning. Robyn's robe was loosely tied, her hair still moist from a shower, and she opened the door with the drowsy expectation of a parcel when the doorbell rang. Rather, she received a big packet that looked official. Legal assistance. "Your needs have been met," the man stated bluntly. Confused, Robyn squinted and gingerly flipped the package over. Bold, Coconino County Court Civil Notice of Action. 2 legal notices, both addressed to Kody Brown, were found within. Mary Barber Brown's and Janelle Shriver Brown's, respectively. One glance at the headline was enough to make her gasp, requesting the return of misappropriated marital assets, co-ownership, and property. Every piece of land on Coyote Pass was included, along with a number of company accounts that were once associated with the Brown family LLC. Mary's long-contested claim over family property from her investment in Lizzie's Heritage Inn was also included. Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, TLC Flicks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. The evidence was thorough, uncompromising, and completely incriminating. Unaware, Robyn hurried into the living room where Kody was enjoying his morning coffee. She threw the envelope in his direction. "You should read this." At this moment, Kody's tan complexion grew white as he flipped through the paperwork, yet he looked up irritated. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Janelle and Mary weren't only upset. Court was on the horizon. The paper trail was lengthy and painstakingly crafted behind the scenes. Mary and Janelle had been collaborating with land title specialists, forensic accountants, and lawyers for months. They discovered something astounding. Janelle had taken money out of her 401k to help buy family land, but it had never been recorded as part of joint ownership. Internal financial documents have covertly deleted Mary's years of equity and personal engagement in family businesses. Following Christine's departure, Robyn's name was added to several land titles, but Janelle and Mary were purposefully omitted. They had evidence that, without their permission, Kody had submitted paperwork reassigning common property, all the while publicly asserting that they'd chosen to walk away. However, they never signed anything. No one ever asked them. They were just wiped out. Tension was high in the courtroom as reporters huddled in small groups. With no cameras inside, TLC had disassociated itself from the case, but the network had acknowledged that the proceedings were not private. All filed motions were open to the public. It is possible to subpoena any witness. Kody was the first to arrive, his jaw clenched, his curls slicked back, and he was dressed in an unfitting charcoal suit. Robyn followed, appearing to be inconsolable. She stayed out of the spotlight. Her eyes were bloodshot and her face was pallid. Mary and Janelle came in a moment later, together. Mary, dressed in a steely gray pantsuit, had a calm yet aggressive face. Wearing a striking emerald shirt and black pants, Janelle exuded a serene, nearly electrifying vitality as she strolled. They had no intention of performing. Their purpose was to recover what had been stolen. The gavel fell as the judge stepped in. The court is now in session. Brown vs. Brown, civil case number 2025 CV 4561. The introductory remarks were harsh. Janelle's lawyer took a firm stance and presented the evidence, including years of joint investment, verbal commitments captured on the family's own television program, and specific proof that Kody had started routinely barring both women from real estate transactions around 2020, the same year Robyn started to exert more and more control over his financial choices. In this courtroom, the plaintiffs are not spiritual wives. They were taken advantage of under the false pretext of family unity and are co-investors, co-contributors, and legal stakeholders. In response, Kody's lawyer claimed that the ladies had willingly walked away, that the family structure was unusual, and that everything was understood to be fluid. Janelle, however, took the stand at that point. "I didn't leave anything behind," she stated icily. "While Kody and Robyn moved into a house I couldn't afford, I resided in an RV on that property. I contributed to this family. I maintained documentation. I'm done being silent now." Mary trailed behind with a soothing yet acerbic tone. I waited. I waited for justice, truth, and love. I was substituted instead. I was put to use. And now I'm taking back all I contributed to creating." On day 2, Robyn was asked to testify. She clutched a tissue and appeared smaller than normal, scared. "I was unaware that the titles had changed," she remarked, her voice breaking. "Kody informed me that the land was no longer desired by anyone else." Janelle's lawyer produced a property transfer deed that was signed by Robyn 2 years prior, and that only listed her and Kody as co-owners. The lawyer said, "You signed this. You agreed to take full ownership of the property that the plaintiffs had partially paid for. Were you duped?" Robyn remained silent. Her gaze strayed to Kody, who was fixated on the ground. "Did you know that signing this rendered the other wives' claims void?" I believe they gave it up. You were mistaken." On the 3rd day, there were fireworks. It was discovered that Kody had exchanged emails with his accountant, in which he referred to Mary and Janelle as non-participants and characterized the land as his and Robyn's retirement vision. Kody was seen clearly informing Janelle that she had no claim if she didn't agree with Robyn's house designs in a video clip from a Sister Wives season. The case was sealed. The judge's ultimate decision was prompt and unambiguous. The court rules in favor of the plaintiffs based on supporting evidence, testimony, and confirmed financial contributions. Restoring co-ownership of the land is the goal. A $1.32 million restitution package, including interest, court expenses, and lost investment value, is to be given by Mr. Brown to Ms. Brown and Ms. Brown. In startled quiet, Kody sat. Robyn wept into her sleeve in a low voice. Reporters were gathered outside the courthouse. Janelle and Mary stood together. "Retaliation was never the goal," Mary stated. "It has to do with the truth. And recovering what was taken away from us. We were treated like shadows," Janelle continued. "As if we weren't included. However, we were heard today." The two women abruptly turned away from the mayhem and moved forward into something different. Already, rumors circulated that they intended to develop their portion of Coyote Pass that they had regained, but without Kody. A new era has dawned. They would write it together this time. Additionally, the news was released just hours after the court's decision. Kody Brown is sued by Janelle and Mary. A $1.3 million payout is ordered. Alright, then Kody's collapsed for days. Kody didn't talk to anyone. He remained hidden away in the house that he and Robyn now legally co-owned. There were no cameras. They pulled the drapes. The dynamic man who formerly managed 4 wives, fathered 18 children, and declared himself the head of a brand new family was no more. He now paced his kitchen while holding his phone and looking at messages from lawyers, producers, and even his own children, the majority of whom were angry, perplexed, or disappointed. He was out of control. Now everyone was aware. His voice shaking, he whispered to Robyn, "I built this family. Without me, they were nothing." Even Robyn, though, took a while to respond. Her face was pale as she sat quietly at the kitchen table with her hands clenched over a cup of tea that she hadn't touched in more than an hour. "It's not just them anymore," she muttered at last. "Everyone is affected." Robyns Disintegration, she was plagued by her courtroom disgrace. Robyn was unable to sleep. She relived the moment she learned the seriousness of what she had signed when the lawyer displayed the smoking pistol, the deed bearing her signature. It didn't matter if she intended to harm Mary and Janelle. She had come to represent all of the Brown family's problems. Her kids heard what the neighbors were saying. After hearing TikToks calling her mother the scammer wife, Aurora had a panic attack and Brianna refused to attend school. After withdrawing into his room, Dayton was not seen for 2 days. In the hallway, Robyn collapsed to the ground in tears as her guilt overcame her. She sobbed to Kody. "This is not what I wanted. All I wanted was a working family." She understood in her heart, however, that she was no longer the cherished last wife. She now represented Cody's treachery, and everyone on the planet could see it. Christine's astute reaction from the comfort of her new kitchen in Utah, where she was surrounded by love, laughter, and a partner who gave her a sense of security. Christine watched it all happen. She was baking cookies with Truly and her fiancé David when the verdict was announced. Messages from former producers and admirers flooded her phone. She grinned. "Told you," was all she said. Then she fell silent. After a lengthy while of staring out the window, she whispered to David, "They did it at last. At last, they confronted him." She gave Mary a call later that evening. It was a long time ago. The discussion was succinct but impactful. "You have my admiration," Christine remarked. "I am aware that everything was needed." Mary's tone faltered. "It was about healing us, not about hurting him." The children of adults picked sides. Among those who made their first public posts were Gabriel, Gwendolyn, Madison, Logan, and Hunter. They had always shown their devotion to Janelle and Christine, but now they were open about it. With the following comment, Gabriel shared a picture of the Coyote Pass sign. He never took certain things. Always the firebrand, Gwendolyn posted on Instagram stories, "I'm proud of my mother, especially after years of seeing my dad treat them like garbage." Though sources claimed that the fallout inside Robyn's home was becoming poisonous, Aurora, Dayton, and Brianna said nothing. Robyn and Aurora had started yelling at each other about privacy, media attention, and the release of court documents. Normally composed, Dayton faced Kody head-on. "Did you truly believe they wouldn't defend themselves?" Kody remained silent. For the first time in many years, his legacy, his children, were no longer standing up for him. The TLC Emergency Meeting, TLC executives rushed behind the scenes. In addition to embarrassing their star, the legal battle revealed power disparities, financial dishonesty, and property mismanagement that went against important provisions in their long-standing contracts. In order to meet Kody and Robyn, producers took a plane to Flagstaff. Already, the collapse was being silently and covertly captured on camera once more. However, TLC made the following demand during the private meeting. Robyn sobbed. Kody was furious, but they were out of leverage. Additionally, producers called Janelle and Mary in Utah. "Are you two open to doing a spin-off?" Regarding reconstruction. About becoming better. Concerning Coyote Pass, the women took a while to respond. Mary, however, grinned. Passive Coyote, reclaimed a few weeks later, Janelle stood in the Arizona heat with her boots firmly placed on the reddish earth that she had once thought she would never be able to walk on again. Beside her, Mary had a manila packet containing the most recent land deed. They had prevailed. They had the legal, irrevocable, and complete right to build on their piece of land. Janelle resorted to her former co-survivor, her sister wife, and her buddy. "Should we turn it into a hideaway for tiny homes?" Mary chuckled. "Perhaps a medical facility for women who have lost themselves." "As we did." They both grinned. And there was no resentment behind it for the first time in years. Just some clarity. And tranquility. The Freedom Blueprints, the desert hills, were painted with warmth as the late morning sun spanned the Coyote Pass horizon. However, it was more than just sunlight for Janelle and Mary. It was freedom. Stakes were driven into the ground that had previously represented Cody's broken promises, while surveyors marked the corners of their just-verified parcel. It was theirs now in law, in deed, and in ink, but not in spirit or theory. Janelle carried a rolled-up blueprint around the perimeter. She told the little staff that although it would be modest, it would be mine. Mary trailed behind, dust-kicking boots. And she had plans. Big windows, desert-friendly landscaping, and a little outside fire pit where her grandchildren could roast marshmallows one day are all features of this adobe guest house. Wives aren't waiting for attention anymore. Women are no longer struggling for recognition. Now they were makers, designers, and owners. What about Kody? He wasn't even given permission to visit the location. Cody's slip into seclusion, Kody Brown was falling apart within the once bustling house he shared with Robyn and her kids. He had lost more than just money and property as a result of the case. It had destroyed the carefully constructed idea that he was the head of the household, the spiritual leader, and the man that everyone needed. On the table, his phone was silent. His children weren't responding, if they hadn't banned his number already. For season 20, TLC had not extended his personal contract. Kody was no longer at the center of the show's pivot. He became unstable, walking in circles and shouting about betrayal. One night, he snarled at Robyn, "I gave them everything, and they gave me a backstab." Robyn, however, did not respond. Tired of taking the blame and being the object of his wrath, she sat still and expressionless. Later that week, he failed to see her packing her suitcase. Robyn's quiet departure, there were no cameras present. Without much fanfare, Robyn loaded the family van in silence early one Friday morning while Kody was sleeping. Aurora, Brianna, and Dayton all waited in silence. They weren't going anywhere permanently just yet. However, they required room. Triage of emotions. Keep your distance from the poison. A respite for the man who was now only able to see himself. Robyn wrote the following on the counter in the kitchen. "This is not a case of desertion. It is a matter of survival. I can no longer be your excuse. You need help." The home was quiet when Kody awoke. Really quiet. The change in TLC executives at network headquarters approved a fresh course. The future of Sister Wives now depended on the tales of Meri, Janelle, and even Christine, who had emerged from the ashes of polygamy as a sort of fan-favorite phoenix, as Kody's reputation and legal standing declined. What's the new working title? The Reclaimed Sister Wives. The pilot would show Janelle starting construction on her tiny house, Meri setting up her retreat area in Coyote Pass, and Christine providing advice from Utah. Her own house was turned into a safe haven for people ending strained relationships. Kody received a restricted number of interview opportunities. Angry about being left out, he refused. However, what about the women? They thrived. Peacemaking in the desert. Meri was drinking iced tea outside the trailer that was temporarily parked on Coyote Pass one gloomy afternoon when she heard footsteps behind her. Janelle was there with a cooler. "I thought we might have a late dinner here." Meri gave a nod. As the sun sank behind the mesa, they sat quietly. The area that was once a battlefield was bathed in a strange glow as the orange light struck the sand just perfectly. Janelle whispered, "I never imagined we'd get here." "Neither am I," Meri answered. "Especially not." Jointly, they both gave a low laugh. Between them, so much had happened. Each of them was isolated by the system they were born into and was a victim of the same man's manipulation. They were now rebuilding their trust as well as their lives, one brick at a time. The visit of Christine. A month later, Meri's retreat lot was parked next to a dusty red SUV. Christine stepped out. From her trailer, Janelle waved. Meri grinned incredulously. Since the trial, they had not met in person. No movie crew. Not a producer. 3 women who refused to let the loss define them despite having loved and lost the same man. They shared dreams for the future, roasted marshmallows, and laughed around the fire pit all night long. Christine displayed pictures of her wedding arrangements. Janelle showed off her designs. Meri discussed turning her retreat into a place where women who have experienced religious trauma might go to write. Christine looked at them both. "We couldn't have had this when he was in charge, don't you think?" Meri examined the fire. "He didn't simply cut us off from him. He kept us apart from one another." Janelle gave a nod. No longer. The rewritten legacy. Months went by. The Coyote Pass changed. They erected fences. They installed modular dwellings. The sun shone on solar panels. Hunter, Janelle's son, had painted a wooden sign at the bottom of the dirt road. "Here, women rise." After 10 years of watching, fans experienced something they never anticipated. Not just closure, but renewal. Kody, on the other hand, didn't get out much. He was eventually removed from TLC's upcoming seasons. Now he was a relic. Not a hero, but a warning. In a poetic turn of events, the new spin-off's viewership figures broke previous marks. TLC's most-watched digital premiere in 5 years was The Sister Wives, Reclaimed pilot. Over Coyote Pass, sunrise. It was a calm morning. With coffee in hand, Meri stood barefoot in the dust as the sun rose behind her house. Janelle waved as she came down the hill from her door. For the weekend, Christine had just pulled in. They were no longer wives. They were not competitors. They were sisters, survivors, and creators of their own fate. Furthermore, Kody was nowhere to be seen as the orange light surged across the desert where they had previously been excluded. Only 3 females, and their independence, which they had at last exquisitely, brutally earned. The official launch as hundreds of women, survivors, searchers, and supporters gathered under the expansive Arizona sky. The scent of fresh sage permeated the air. Janelle and Mary's long-envisioned haven for women escaping abusive religious, emotional, and financial domination, the Ember Ridge Retreat, had finally opened. Standing in the middle of the recently built community building, they held hands. During her opening remarks, Mary's voice quivered a little. This area used to be a battlefield. Today, however, it turns into a sanctuary. We were hushed for years in the name of spiritual obedience, Janelle continued. This place? It is for people who wish to regain their voice. Applause reverberated throughout the canyon of the desert. Framed statements from former Sister Wives viewers who had written in throughout the years, describing how Janelle and Mary's bravery had enabled them to flee oppressive regimes, lined the walls of the main hall. An inscription said, "You didn't simply abandon a man. You left behind a mentality that enslaved generations." Robyn's public accountability, however, Robyn Brown's world was collapsing in Flagstaff. Sisters Without Silence, a national nonprofit organization dedicated to women's rights, started a campaign to look into how reality TV contributes to the perpetuation of patriarchal abuse. Once seen as Kody's favorite, Robyn was now being viewed more negatively. Her courtroom demeanor was examined in Reddit posts. Side-by-side videos of her manipulated crying and her more assured off-camera moments were posted by TikTok developers. With 12 million views, a video called The Weaponization of Tears Robyn Brown Edition became viral. The IRS leak followed. During the property restructure, Robyn co-signed a number of dubious financial documents that may have purposefully disguised ownership and tax liability, according to records made public by a dissatisfied former accountant. Charges of fraud started to circulate. A new attorney showed up at her home. "Miss, you must completely cooperate with the investigation, Brown. If not, a formal subpoena will be issued." Robyn broke down in tears on her front porch. No cameras this time. No Kody to stand up for her. And worst of all, Dayton, her eldest son, had moved out. Silently. With respect. But at last, Kody is back in court. Robyn was not the only victim of the aftermath. Kody Brown was pulled back into the legal fray as a result of the IRS's involvement and the accumulation of fresh evidence. Years before their court victory, he was accused of misclassifying joint assets as individual holdings, which enabled him to conceal money and from paying Mary and Janelle's debt. They set a new hearing. Kody came by himself. This time he had no allies in the courthouse. No spouses. No children. No crew from TLC. Only an empty bank account and a grim-faced public defender. Kody finally lost it when the court read out the charges and ordered a fresh audit of his financial records dating back 10 years. He said, "I didn't mean to hurt them. All I needed was order. I desired order." The judge, however, remained unmoved. "You desired authority. And it's over now." The daughters talked. 2 unexpected voices emerged as the courtroom drama played out. The daughters of Mary and Christine, Mariah, now Leon and Aspen, decided to give a talk at Ember Ridge's second seminar event, dismantling the myth of the righteous patriarch. Speaking from the heart, Leon stated, "Being good enough for a father who only regarded obedience as love took up the most of my existence. I'm done entertaining guys like him." With tears in her eyes, Aspen trailed behind. "After years of witnessing my mother struggle in quiet, I finally witness her flourishing. We can all rebuild if she can." In any case, Mary and Christine never imagined that their daughters would be spearheading the subsequent healing wave. Compared to previous reunion specials on the show, the aftermath of Sister Wives Season 19 has been the most chaotic. A 4-part tell-all that was meant to provide the fans some sort of closure marked the end of the most recent episode of TLC's venerable reality series. However, the fans had more questions than answers when Kody and Robyn Brown, as well as the former Sister Wives Mary, Christine, and Janelle Brown, met down with host Sukanya Suki Krishnan for their one-on-one interviews. Kody's last surviving wife was included in a behind-the-scenes video that TLC published in the days before the tell-all special. Robyn freely stated in the video that she was not excited for the in-person interview with Krishnan. Robyn actually said, "I'd rather have a root canal," in response to Kody's question about how she was feeling. Now, the supporters weren't really fond of that strategy. Taking responsibility for their acts is the goal of the tell-all specials at the conclusion of each season. But it was clear that Robyn and Kody had no interest in doing so. Robyn's habit of not viewing show snippets and analyzing them like the rest of the group was criticized by Krishnan throughout the special. In this instance, Janelle expressed her feelings on Kody's prejudice toward Robyn in a number of the season's moments. The videos showed Robyn's complete lack of regret for her role in the dissolution of their previous multiple family. In fact, Robyn openly stated that she didn't give a damn about what her previous sister wives had to say when Krishnan asked her about Janelle calling Robyn Cody's sacred cow. Playing the victim once more, Robyn ended the chat by dismissing the tapes and calling them disturbing. Kody was much worse than Robyn in responding to questions during the program. The patriarch of the Brown family occasionally made the tell-all intolerable to watch, alternating between shifting the blame and becoming defensive and repeatedly yelling at Krishnan. Kody's attitude took a turn for the worse the moment Krishnan began asking him pointed questions, and that's really saying something. Kody stated during the talk that he didn't love all of his women equally and that he wanted to improve all of his marriages. But rather than considering his behavior, he became irate when Krishnan brought up the discrepancy in his statement. This merely demonstrates Kody's immature attitude to handling conflict, which contributed to the dissolution of his several families in the first place. Longtime viewers of the program are already aware that Kody finds it difficult to accept the repercussions of his behavior. But when he began to treat Krishnan as his worst adversary at the tell-all, he really went to the next level. Kody would yell that he didn't want to feel bad about liking his youngest wife whenever the host brought up his ex-wife's remarks on his partiality for Robyn. In Kody's own words, "My relationship with Robyn has a divine element, and we have been bitch-slapped for it." Kody claimed that the other wives were simply envious of Robyn's ability to get all the deals by calling all of his wives salesmen. Kody's decision to end crucial discussions before they even start demonstrates his unwillingness to accept accountability for his marriage's disintegration and his tense ties with his kids. It certainly seems that Kody and Robyn have something to conceal when contrasted with Meri, Janelle, and Christine's candid and open attitude to the tell-all. The now monogamous couple was clearly trying to improve their reputation during the show, but they were taken aback by Krishnan's line of questioning. Robyn and Kody's statements that they want to move on and put the drama behind them seem utterly false in light of everything mentioned above. Let us know in your comments. And stay tuned by subscribing our channel to get more updates like this. Thanks everyone.